There's lots of options to choose from when you want to do a race on Zwift. So today I'm going to take you through some of my favourites. We'll look at two types of racing, individual racing and team racing. So let's get started with those races that you can do as an individual. Zwift, of course, offer their own racing series that you can take part in. There's the ZRacing series, which is a monthly series, usually 4 races, sometimes 5. And as an individual, you can take part in these, do them all, do some of them, just enjoy them, do them for fun, or take them quite seriously. There's a GC leaderboard that's recently been added to the experience, and you can measure yourself against the other riders, race by race or across each monthly series. These races are pen starts. By that I mean you are grouped with other riders within your racing score category, and therefore you're competing against other riders that are in and around a similar ability to yourself. So it makes for really competitive racing, and differently to mass starts that we'll talk about soon, they are very easy to see who you're competing against. To put you into the right pen, Zwift use something called Zwift Racing Score, or ZRS. This is a 0 to 1000 classification. If you've done any racing, you'll have seen it pop up on your companion app as to what score you are. These are then split into segments, if you like, and you are grouped together with other people of a similar score to yourself. So this is great because it means if you're new to racing and your ZRS is low, you can race against other people who are in a similar category. And of course, if you're an A rider, you're also racing against other people of a similar ability. So it makes for really competitive racing, whatever standard you are. Also, Zwift offer a number of other racing types. So they have a TT club if you're into time trials. So essentially you're racing against yourself, if you like, and the track, because there is no drafting. And quite often TTs are included into tours, which we'll talk about in a minute when we look at the more team-based racing. But they're certainly a lot of fun to do. They also have something called Crit Club, Crit being short for criterium. So these are usually shorter races, pretty full-on action from start to finish. And there are also some longer races in Zwift as well that you can take part in. So without going outside of the ecosystem in any shape or form, you have quite a lot of racing to choose from off the bat. I should also give a mention to Zwift Insider's Tiny Races, which are held on a Saturday. There's 2 time slots to accommodate people from different time zones. These tiny races consist of 4 races, all starting 15 minutes apart. Usually the race lasts for about 7 or 8 minutes, and it's absolute power down for 7 or 8 minutes. It's a VO2 max dream workout, and honestly, by the end of the hour, you can hardly stand up. They're really competitive, they are very well attended, and I would certainly recommend giving those a try on a Saturday. Attendance is one of the things that you can see in the companion app. So it's always better really to race in a larger group. You get the benefit of drafting, so that can save some energy in the longer races, but also it makes for a more competitive race. Generally speaking, if you get dropped, let's say from a group, there's usually a group behind you that you can either try and maintain your gap from, so creating a kind of different racing environment, or you could drop back and join that group and race with them. So the bigger the group, probably the more fun you will have, and you can see this in the companion app before you join up. So there's lots of racing to choose from in Zwift. I do lots of these, usually at least 1 or 2 a week, and I complement it with some of the team racing, which I'll talk about now. So from a team racing point of view, let's stick with Zwift to start with. When I first got into team racing, I started with the Zwift Racing League. So this is a very well attended, very well supported event with lots of teams from all around the world competing over many different time zones. All of the information is on the WTRL website. That stands for World Tactical Racing Leagues. They host the Zwift Racing League for Zwift. So you end up having to create an account in WTRL that then links back to your Zwift account, and then this all works, I have to say, very seamlessly within a team environment. So of course, your first step is that you need to join a team. The way that I did it was I googled WTRL Zwift Racing League, a Facebook page popped up, I'll put a link in the description below. And on there is a recruitment area, essentially, where you can post your Zwift Power racing statistics. Zwift Power being a platform that accumulates all of your racing within Zwift in one area and is used as a source of truth in terms of your power output, your performance, your results, etc. So I'll do a separate video on Zwift Power if you're interested. Please leave me a comment below if you'd like me to do one. But essentially what you do is post your stats on there, which shows essentially your Zwift racing score, the category that you're racing and what have you. And then teams can look at that and think, well, I could do with a Group B rider or a Group A rider to join our team. And they'll reach out to you, which is exactly what happened to me. And I ended up joining the Brakes Gruppetto, a team based in England, not far from Cambridge. And I've raced with them during the ZRL in 2024 going into 2025. Once you've joined a team and you've got a WTRL account, which is free, then you are ready to go racing. Each team has a team captain. They pick the team for the week, so you might end up with a team whereabouts only 6 can participate, but there's 9 members in the team, so generally speaking there'll be kind of like a rota that the team captain will take care of. And of course, some weeks some people can't race, etc. After all of the rounds of the ZRL have been completed, it then goes to a finals, which is usually held in April. And indeed, there was also a summer showdown this year, which may have happened in previous years. I don't know, I wasn't Zwifting. But there was another 4-race tournament that was held during June of 2025. And so this kept the whole team ethos going, although during that one I actually raced for a different team. But anyway, that's a different story. Now, the great thing about team racing is that it becomes a bit of a community as well. There's a lot of support within your own team. There's a lot of chat. Generally speaking, most teams have a Discord channel, or they have a WhatsApp group, or they have multiple WhatsApp groups. Whereabouts you can discuss all sorts of things. So you end up in this whole, shall we say, virtual friends environment. And I would go as far as to say that these people have become friends. And it really does add to the whole virtual cycling platform. And that's the great thing about racing on Zwift. You don't just have to stay with one team. So for me, I race different types of races with different teams. So for the Brakes Gruppetto, I did the ZRL in 2024. During 2025, I've been doing ladder racing, which we'll talk about in a minute, with L'Equipe Provence, or LEQP. And I've also been racing in the Chasing Touring Series from ECRO, again, another one that we'll talk about in a minute, with CYE Racing. L'Equipe Provence, I think, is based in the Netherlands, but they have team members from all over the world that I can see, and certainly a lot of Europe. CYE Racing is based in Canada. So you can see that you actually can join these teams. They have multiple nationalities, multiple people racing at different times, because most of the team racing, there's a number of slots that you can join. So it really is great for building a whole team aspect of racing within Zwift, which would be very hard to achieve in real life. So let's have a look at the next one, which is ECRO. ECRO, or the E-Cycling Race Organisation, again, link below, has a touring calendar that pretty much matches the tours that are going on in real life almost all year round. So for example, at the moment of recording this video, the Tour de France is on, and there is Chasing Yellow, yellow being the colour that is quite often associated with the Tour de France. And there are races running that are, let's say, as well matched as they can be to the Tour de France in real life. Now, of course, some of the Tour de France stages are super long and, you know, super hilly and what have you. So it's not an exact replication by any stretch of the imagination. But the whole setup of it, in terms of the number of stages, the type of courses that they try to pick within Zwift to mirror something similar to what's happening in real life, it's all very well done. And, you know, cutting a bit of latitude, I mean, you're certainly not racing the Tour de France, but it can enhance your experience of enjoying watching the Tour de France while you're doing your own sort of, let's call it a mini Tour de France online. They also had Chasing Pink last month, which was the Giro d'Italia equivalent, let's say. And I'm sure some people in the comments below will be talking about it's not equivalent, etc, etc, etc. So pardon my use of the word equivalent, but I'm going to continue to use it. Now, ECRO isn't free. You have to pay $7.99, I believe, for an annual license. And I know for some people, they already pay to use Zwift. Why should I pay to do a different racing series? Well, it's a privately run racing series within Zwift. And as you can imagine, there's an awful lot of organisation. It's got its own dedicated website. And then, of course, there's all the processing of the results and dealing with, let's say, customer service and all of the things that come along with that. They have a very active Discord channel whereabouts you can post, comments, concerns, you can ask about the races and what have you. And all of this needs to be done. So for $7.99, I found it to be really, really good value. But of course, it's your money, so you decide what you want to spend it on. But don't let that put you off. For a nominal fee, I believe it supports the people that have created the platform and supports the costs of hosting the website, etc. And let's be honest, even though there's hundreds of people that race in this, they're not getting rich anytime soon out of it. So it's definitely a labour of love, and I think covering their costs is a more than reasonable request, in my opinion. So in order to join a team, the way that I went about this, because the team that I was a member of for the Zwift Racing League, the Brakes Gruppetto, a great team, they generally, though, don't do online racing during the summer months. They tend to stick to the Zwift Racing League. So I needed to find another team. And the way that I went about that is that I went into the ECRO Discord channel, and there is a separate thread in there whereabouts you can actually post yourself, if you like, and see if there's any teams willing to take you on. And that's what I did. And I got a message back from CYE Racing, based in Canada, as I said before, and they have been absolutely brilliant. A really active community, lots of great riders, people that I now call friends, and I race the ECRO Racing series with CYE. About the racing within ECRO, well, it's definitely competitive. It's mass starts. So what I mean by that is every group is on the start line at the same time. So you're not in pens according to your ability, you're with everybody else. So I think there's pros and cons to mass starts. So what I find with mass starts, which for me is a pro, is I'm a B rider, so above me are the A's. And actually what I try and do, and nearly always fail, is to stick with the A's for as long as I can, because it pushes me harder and therefore I think improves me as a racer. And then generally speaking, quite often, if not all the time, I tend to get dropped by the A's at some point and some of the quicker B's, and then usually find myself falling back into a B race. So over a period of, these races are anything from 20 to nearly 80 kilometers, you will generally find a group that you can race with as the race spreads out and you find where you are. But to start with, it does allow you to sort of push yourself if that's what you want to do. Or you could probably be more sensible than I am, and you could start at a more sensible pace and conserve your energy and not end up getting dropped on the big climb halfway through the race, which seems to nearly always happen to me. ECRO and the next one that we'll talk about, which is Flamme Rouge Racing, are both based on the Velo racing score. I'll leave a link below in the description, but I'm going to do a video that dives more into Zwift Racing Score and Velo and the differences in between and whereabouts they're applicable and whereabouts they're not in a couple of weeks' time. So keep an eye out for that, or subscribe if you'd like to be notified about it. One of the great things about ECRO and Flamme Rouge Racing is once you're in the ecosystem, you can just join the races really easily. Race passes come out on the website in advance of the next tour starting. You click on the time slot that suits you, and then you race against the other riders in that race. And of course, life gets in the way sometimes, so we can't always do every race. But as long as I think you complete 75% of the races, you'll still go into that overall general classification, so you can see how you did across the tour. There's an incentive there to turn up for every race, of course, but if you don't, You know, you can just do it for fun, you can do it because you enjoy racing in it. You know, there's lots of reasons. It's not like you miss one and you're out. You can continue for the duration of the tour. So the next racing tours that I want to talk about, team competition, that is hosted externally from Zwift but held in Zwift, if that makes sense, is Flamme Rouge Racing, or FRR. They're based in the UK and they host tours from October through till March every year. These are incredibly well attended, and I did some as an individual last year, and that actually was the reason that inspired me to go out and search for a team to join. And I did that through their Discord channel as well, and got signed up by LEQP. So L'Equipe Provence is another great team that I've joined. And although I haven't raced any FLR with them at the moment, because I joined after the series had finished, I have been doing some other racing with them, which is ladder racing, which will be the next thing that we talk about. So FRR has about 5 tours that take place within that time frame, October to March. And again, it's a very similar setup to ECRO that I can see, in terms of there's multiple time slots, it's based on the velo rating score, and you can pick the time slot that you want to race in, and your points are accumulated and added together with the rest of the individuals that are in your team, and then you get a team result. So you end up, like in ECRO, with an individual performance and a team performance. So it's multifaceted. And this can lead to team tactics. It can lead to you racing with other members of your team at the same time and working as a group. And all of these different elements come together to make it a different racing experience than you would see if you were just doing the individual racing that I spoke about earlier. I love the team racing because I think it really adds an extra dimension to what I do within Zwift. I'll leave a link to the FRR website in the description below if you're interested in looking at it. And of course, if you're not on Discord, I would recommend that you do get on Discord, and you can find links to get to the Discord channel through their websites. Ladder racing is relatively new to me. I think I've done about 4 of them so far with L'Equipe Provence. There's a number of teams within L'Equipe Provence that are grouped again by racing score. So I race for Troubillon. I'm not entirely sure whereabouts they got the names from, but it sounds kind of cool. And it's a weekly event, generally speaking, and you race against other teams that have ladder racing teams. The way it works usually is a 5 versus 5, or sometimes a 4 versus 4, depending on availability and what the other team can put out in terms of their riders. And you choose the course between the teams. We always think about, what might suit us, what maybe wouldn't suit them. And the way that it works is it is a ladder, as it sounds like. So essentially your team can challenge people higher up in the ladder, and if you beat them, then you move higher up in the ladder, and then you start to get challenged by teams below you, and so on and so forth. So it makes for this whole quite interesting mechanism of racing. And the racing itself is really interesting because that then becomes very team tactical. The whole ethos of whether you win or lose is based on a point system of whereabouts each team member finishes in the race. So trying to group your riders together as close as you can to get as many of you across the line before the other riders in the other team becomes the whole tactical approach to it. So for example, you might have sprinters in your team, you might have climbers, you might have sort of all-rounders. So you try and work out what will play to the strengths of the individuals in the team, and sometimes you might have tactics whereabouts a couple of people will go off because they're quicker, so at least you're challenging for those first and second spots whereabouts you get the most points, of course, and then the rest of the team work together to try and get the best result with the remaining members of their team. It's really nuanced, let's say. You have to experience it to understand it completely. If you haven't tried ladder racing, then find a team that does. It's really enjoyable, and I think probably has become one of my favourite events that I do now. Another one that deserves a mention, and that usually I do on a weekly basis as well, is the WTRL, so it's within the WTRL environment again, and they have TT racing. So team time trials means that as a team, you go off at the same time, and each team goes off with a 2-minute gap between them. So when you're out on the course, it's just you and your team, unless of course you catch up the team ahead or you get caught by the team behind. But essentially just you. And the 5 or 6 members of the team, depending on how many you've got, work together to try and keep in a line, for all intents and purposes, to increase the benefits of the drafting mechanisms within Zwift, to post a time that then is compared to the other teams taking part in that particular competition that week. Your time posted is when the 4th member of the team crosses the line. So there's no point anybody going off quick at the start and losing the rest of the team. In fact, that's arguably the worst thing that you can do. It's all about working together. And the way that we've done this in the teams that I race team time trials with is you're all on a Discord chat channel, and you can talk to each other and you communicate about who's going to take over at the front, whereabouts you are going to be in the position in the pack, which you've generally worked out before you start, and how many watts you're pulling, what speeds you're going at, and you try and make it so that the other team members are fully informed of what you're doing, especially when you're at the front, and you take it in turns. And the reason why you take it in turns from being at the front and dropping back, of course, is to save energy. If you're in position 3, 4 or 5, then you're getting the benefit of the draft from positions 1 and 2. So you can recover, and then basically you would move back up the group. So you'd start in P1, you'd do your pull, as they call it, so pulling the team along. And then you maybe do that for a minute or 90 seconds or 2 minutes. And then you drop back to P6, let's say. And then P2 now becomes P1. And then it changes again and you move up to P5 and P4 and P3 and P2, and then you take your pull again. And of course this leads to super fast times because everybody's able to conserve some energy. But it's not that easy to keep those lines going. In fact, in every race I've ever been in, we've ended up bunched at some point. But the more that you do these, the better you get as a team, particularly if you're riding with the same riders each week. So team time trials, another fun variation of the type of racing that you can do within Zwift. So there we go. Those are all the different kinds of racing that I've done within Zwift over the past 9 months since I started. If you enjoy racing, which I do, clearly, then there's a lot to choose from. And there are lots of other races within Zwift that I haven't mentioned in this video. Sisu springs to mind, another really well attended popular event, but I haven't tried it so I can't really talk about it, but my intention is to do so. Which means that you've got lots of choice when you get on your indoor cycling setup and think, what shall I do today? For me, the variation in racing keeps me coming back again and again. It keeps me going onto the bike, it keeps me trying to keep fit, keeps me trying to maintain my weight. It's just all positive. It adds a competitive element to it, which I know is not for everyone, but if that appeals to you, then that's fantastic. And of course, it also builds on the community aspect of Zwift, which for me has been maybe the most surprising part. So I thought when I joined Zwift and started Zwifting that it'd be a very individual, perhaps even quite a lonely thing to do, much like if you just went out for a cycle on your own. But actually, when you get into this team event thing, there's this whole community and social side that I never knew existed. So it gives you the whole competitive bit, if that's what you want to do. But on top of that, it gives you community, it gives you sociability. And for me, it keeps me coming back again and again to try different formats. And don't be scared. You can join any race at any time. Just give them a go would be my advice, and see which ones appeal to you. Thank you as always for watching. If you enjoyed the content, please give the video a like and subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video. Ride on!